Well, the United States is sponsoring a military strategic coalition to encircle China called the Quadrilateral Initiative, popularly known as the Quad. So, the Quad includes, besides United States, Japan, Australia, and more recently, India has been drawn into this coalition, thus making it a Quad. So, India is now taken part in the military exercises along with Japan, America, and Australia in the South China Sea, obviously, much to the disenchantment of China. So, one of the critical aspects of Sino-Indian adverse relations is the perception of Beijing that India is increasingly being drawn into US-led alliance against it. So, the Quad, India joining Quad has been taken seriously and adversely by the China. Well, notwithstanding the Chinese objections, we have been part of the Quad. But more recently, we are now trying to expand the Quad from South China Sea to Indian Ocean. India has been conducting the trilateral military exercises with Japan and America in the Indian Ocean waters, popularly called as the Malabar exercises. Now, India has decided to even include Australia in these Malabar military exercises, thus expanding the Quad's intervention into the Indian Ocean waters. Well, there is a fundamental difference between South China Sea and Indian Ocean. India has no territorial or strategic interest as such in South China Sea, except the fact that we have hostilities with China, and our joining Quad may create some kind of a pressure on China. Other than that, we have no role to play in the South China Sea. But when we want to expand Quad's role into Indian Ocean, there are several questions. China has already taken serious note of it. The Global Times in its editorial called it a serious attack on the interest of China, because China is worried not with India, but it is worried about the United States encircling China in both South China Sea and Indian Ocean. But as I told you, there is a fundamental difference between South China Sea and Indian Ocean. So, even if we join hands with Australia, Japan, America in the quadrilateral exercises in the Indian Ocean, what are we getting out of it? So, if the American defense companies refuse to share with us the proprietorial technologies or the basic technologies, so that India can become self-reliant in these technologies. So, the American defense companies, irrespective of India joining the Quad, are not keen on sharing these technologies, especially the anti-submarine technology, which are critical in a sea warfare. So, our joining Quad and inviting America, Japan, and Australia into these Malabar exercises will not in any way improve our combat or deterrent capacity vis-a-vis China. So, it will only serve the purpose of a symbolic in reference or a symbolic signal to China, and that signal is taken very adversely by the China. Instead, India should have focused on developing its own deterrent and combative capacity, thereby we would have been empowered to counter China in any case of an eventuality. The second aspect is, in South China Sea, China has encroached upon the claims of other neighbors like Japan, Vietnam, Philippines in the territorial waters of those countries. So, Vietnam, Philippines, Japan consider and argue that they are their territorial waters, and China claims rights over these waters. So, there are territorial claims on oceans when in regard to Japan, Vietnam, Philippines vis-a-vis China. But on the contrary, China, India has no confrontation in relation to territorial waters. We have confrontation in the land border in the Galwan Valley, in Aksai Chin, in Sikkim, in Arunachal Pradesh, but we do not have any similar territorial claims conflicting in the Indian Ocean. So, this is the second difference. Third, in South China Sea, certain islands are disputed islands. China claims sovereignty over those islands. Japan, Philippines, Vietnam also claim sovereignty on the same islands. Unlike the South China Sea, there are no claims by China or there are no counter claims by India in relation to any islands in China. So, the China has not questioned our sovereignty in Indian Ocean in any way. So, as of now. So, what will happen tomorrow, nobody can say. So, even when there are no territorial conflicts, there are no questions of sovereignty, and then, we are joining the Quad, we are expanding the Quad activity into the Indian Ocean, inviting the Chinese adverse response. So, it does not matter if the Chinese adverse response improves our deterrent and combative capability, then there is meaning in that military strategy. But unfortunately, despite incurring the wrath of China, we are not being given the leverage of defense technologies or key anti-submarine technologies by the American defense companies. So, therefore, we will have to really rethink what is the benefit India will get by expanding the Quad into the Indian Ocean region. That is, and much more surprising is India is negotiating a peaceful settlement on land border. We are in the process of disengagement despite the killing of 20 Indian troops by the Chinese army. We are still negotiating for a peaceful settlement on the land border. So, on one side we are negotiating a peaceful settlement on the land border despite a conflict, despite a military confrontation, however limited it is. And we are on the other hand inviting a sort of an hostile reaction in the Indian Ocean. So, I do not really understand what is the intent of such a strategic policy. It is a clear revelation that India lacks a strategic depth in the Indian Ocean region, and this kind of a strategic deficit of India in the Indian Ocean will definitely cause the India's security interest.